Welcome back to Divine Decode. I'm your host, Pragya Malvia, and today's conversation promises to be one of those that stays with you long after it's over. We are joined by Dr. Crystal T. Harrell, who is a first generation Yale PhD, TEDx speaker, best selling author, and a powerhouse in holistic health and resilience. But what makes her story truly remarkable is not just her accomplishments. It's where she began growing up in public housing as one of 10 siblings. She turned her challenges into fuel, earning over $670,000 in scholarships and leading initiatives that bridge public health and personal growth. Today, we are diving deep into the real stuff: self awareness, resilience, holistic health, and how to find abundance even when life feels scarce. So let's unravel the wisdom behind her journey and explore how we too can transform struggle into strength. First of all, thank you, Dr. Crystal. Thank you for being here. It's an honor to host you today.
It's truly a pleasure to be here and share space with you as well, Pragya. Thank you.
That's so great, Crystal. Okay, so you've lived through experiences, that could have easily left you stuck. But instead of, letting yourself stuck in situations, you turned them into stepping stones. You took it as a challenge that, yeah, I will, turn this into stepping stones wherein I'll just go for it. So for those who are listening, who might be in the middle of their own storms right now, who might be stuck. So how did it shift for you? How did, what role did self-awareness play in this whole situation wherein you were stuck and then you realized that, no, this is not what I want to do and that I'm capable of many things and this is where I want to grow and go. So yeah, how was it for you?
Yeah, so this is a beautiful question, by the way. And as you were, asking this, my mind immediately started to envision a time in my life where I was in my darkest and, my darkest times and also my toughest storm. And that was back in 2023, where I was really, really stuck. Like I was, first year in my graduate school program and just struggling mentally, trying to figure out, am I actually going to make it past this point in my life? I was dealing with panic attacks back to back, anxiety, depression. Like it was just on the outside, everything looked fine, but I was really struggling internally. And so during that time, what really helped me was the vision, right? So I always understood that if I just stayed true to the vision of myself. So I had this vision of becoming the woman that's speaking to you today, Dr. Crystal Harrell and doing it and being really stepping into my own power and stepping into my own vision. And I always had that vision for myself. And so during that time when I wasn't who I am now, I was really struggling. And so I remember during that time is I really envisioned this person. I envisioned what it would feel like to be on the other side of that storm in my life. And so that's what I would share with the listeners is to just really pay attention to the vision that you have for your life. And that carries you through that storm, that carries you through that transition that you're going through, because you can use that pain. I'm not talking about spiritual bypassing here. I'm just talking about looking at the things that are actually, it feels like it's keeping us stuck, right? But it's also an opportunity for us to expand if we're willing to look at the things that are keeping us in this place of darkness or this place of feeling like we can't get past it. Usually what's coming up for us needs to be healed and released so that we can step into the version of ourselves that we know to be true. So hopefully that's not too long-winded of a answer, but that's what I would say about that.
Actually, that really lands for me and I'm sure it also lands for people out there because, it's what I believe is that, it's often these messy, uncomfortable reflections of ourselves
Mm.
that, end up changing our lives the most.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I am in the most uncomfortable talk with myself, I genuinely realize a lot about myself and I know my toxic patterns then. I know wherein I have to set my own boundaries. So that helps a lot. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that with us.
And that you spoke to just now was self-awareness. So that's how that ties into it. Because if you're able to be present with yourself, then you're able to know yourself, whether you're in a good time or a time that doesn't feel as pleasing. Everything is here to serve you. So that's a beautiful response. Because yeah, that's self-awareness because you know yourself.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. Also, you often speak about connecting mind, body and spirit
Mm,
for the true well-being of our own selves.
yeah.
And I really want to know from what you've seen in your life, what you've been through, where do people most often miss the mark in keeping that balance between, our mind, body, and spirit? Because, sometimes it's just chaotic that our mind wants something else. It's at a whole different
Mhm.
place. Our body is at a whole different level wherein it is exhausted. It needs that rest. And the spirit,
Mm,
it is also like, bro, I really need some attention. So how do you
yeah.
keep that balance?
Yeah, whew, that's a very deep question. And what I will say is that Dr. Joe Dispenza, his work has really helped me tap into this. So he wrote the book Becoming Supernatural and a few others as well. But that book specifically is the one I read to really get me into this mind body connection. And the reason why I feel like it was so imperative just from, I can't speak to anyone else's journey, but for me, learning about this connection between who we are, what we say and what we do like that connection is the most important thing that we have. That's true integrity because everything is aligned within us. And all integrity is that, like I said, everything that you think, what you say, and what you do is in alignment. And I feel that the reason why a lot of the times in my own journey, when I felt the most disconnected from my spirit or disconnected from, who I was, that's when I was more so focused on people pleasing, like trying to look good on paper, trying to make sure everything looked polished, but not attending to what was going on in my internal world. So I talk a lot about this internal journey to outer success because when you know who you are, it's easier for you to create a life that's in alignment with who you are, not one that you feel like you have to live just because it looks good. And that's the transition I had to make in my own life. And so that's why I speak so highly of this work because it truly transformed the way I showed up in this world. And it's made living a lot more intentional, if that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense. And I resonate with that too. And yeah, I love that. I love that. Also for someone who is listening right now, who
Mm,
feels totally out of sync, we've also talked about it earlier, but
yeah.
what is the simplest first step that we can take? No complex routines, nothing complex. Just just that one simple step that they need to take towards themselves.
Yeah, I would say the first step is getting still within yourself. So whether that is the practice I use is journaling. And what journaling does for me is bring me back to the present moment because I have to be present with my pen and my paper. And so that's a technique that I use, but maybe, a listener here doesn't like writing. And so maybe there's something like a walking meditation that will help you, disconnect from the outside noise. It's just you and in nature, you and Mother Gaia, like, just nothing there, no music, no, you know, social media, just you, just being present. And you can also get back to yourself through your breath. So sometimes, like, if I feel really overwhelmed, I'll take 3 deep breaths and I'll come back to myself and then I'll go from there. But it's difficult to say, you have to do this in order to get to a better place because everyone is different. And so what it comes back to is whatever technique helps you get present because presence is the most important thing that we have when it comes to ascending on our journey. Whatever that journey looks like, everybody's journey is different, but everybody is trying to get to a similar goal, which is feeling totally free, totally liberated from the negative thinking, from the fear that keeps telling us that we're not worthy of living the life that we desire, which is totally false. But if we listen to fear, we'll live our whole life in the darkness. You have to focus on the light of your life. And to get present with that light, you have to come back to yourself. every single time where you feel yourself leaving, like it's a practice, right? So practice is, it's like riding a bike or learning how to skate. You may fall down. Like I still fall down sometimes. Like I don't think anyone is past that process of, being perfect with it. But I think just being intentional about having some type of practice. Like for me, mine is journaling. Like I said, I show up and I journal every day because that helps me stay present. But for you, it may be something different. So this is where self-awareness comes back into the picture. It's something that is very unique to the individual, but there's so many techniques, so many.
Yes, yes. I totally get you with the breathing point, the breathing pattern that you shared. And you know, that is the first step that I have started taking towards myself, wherein,
Right.
all I am doing is just observing my breathing pattern for like 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it is helping for me right now, but I hope it does. And see, I know that it will, and that is just taking a step towards yourself. So that is so great. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Also, people often think that resilience only it comes from surviving hardships, and it is not necessary. I feel that it is not necessary that it always comes through hardships and
Mhm.
very tough trials. So, do you believe that we can actually build resilience even in times of peace? And do people who haven't been through so much in their life, but they also can develop resilience? So what is your takeaway with it?
I can't tell you how much I love this question because this is a question I've been asking myself for the last like 5 years. And I still have yet to get to a solid answer. But I've been observing it and researching resilience during my doctoral program. I like to look at different like resilience variables and stuff. And it's just interesting because I'm with you. I never believed that you had to struggle or you had to go through hardships just to become the greatest version of yourself. But it seems that it is a very useful tool for a lot of people because a lot of times we don't choose the hand that life deals us, right? Like sometimes things happen, sometimes storms arise in our life and we can't control that. But what we can control is our internal reality. And I think, to be honest, that may be a form of resilience. It's just being centered within yourself. So when the storm comes, maybe it doesn't feel as traumatic as it would have, maybe if you weren't centered within yourself. So the short answer is I don't know. But the long answer of that is what I just shared. And also just reflecting upon the fact that I've had this question for a very long time. I really have. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally correct. And this question is also something that I always love to ask, because
Mm.
there are so many misconceptions about it around there. And whenever you talk to people about resilience, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you have to go through this, you have to go through that for it. But there are it just has to come from inside, and it
Mm.
is never and nowhere written or nowhere practiced or experienced that if you've not been through any tough times in your life, you can't build in that resilience and that strength for yourself. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
Yes, yes, that is a refreshing take, by the way. Also,
Yeah.
what are some everyday habits or rituals that you personally swear by to keep, strengthening that resilience muscle um, into you?
Yeah, so I kind of talked on this previously, but journaling has been my best friend since I was so little. And when my father died when I was 11, it was the only thing I truly had to help me reflect on what was happening within me. Like there was a lot of emotions and chaos, as you can imagine, that happened as a result of losing a parent. But I didn't know who to talk to about it. So I went to my journal and I've kept the journal from that time up until today. Um, and so I swear by journaling because I believe in introspection, which is the process of truly looking within yourself and being present with yourself. And for me, journaling has been the best way to do that because I can right now go to my library, my personal library, my bookshelf, and pull, my journal from 2015 and I can start reading it and I can just reflect on the fact that, oh my God, I can't believe I was so close to quitting when I was in college, something like this. Like that's something that came up during my recent reflection by reading my journals. It's just seeing how close I was to quitting And just recognizing that, like, man, if I had stopped, I wouldn't have become the person that I always envisioned myself to be. And so I believe in journaling because it gives you this concrete space to truly reflect. And then as time goes on, you can pull that. Like there are certain events that happened that I just read about in my journal that I haven't thought about in years. And that was just like latent memories, but it helped me unlock deeper wisdom about the journey of self discovery. So journaling is something I swear by. Breathing techniques, like you mentioned, like just sitting with your breath and watching it and observing it without judgment. Like I think a lot of people think that meditation is stopping your thoughts, but I don't think so. I think meditation is being aware of your thoughts and recognizing that they're not you. There's something that you're watching, like watching clouds pass in the sky, but they're not a part of you. The clouds aren't the sky, they're a part of it. And just like our thoughts are not us, but they're, maybe a reflection of where we are in our life. But I think making that detachment and stop, identifying with our thoughts is a way that really helps us get centered.
So rightly said. And the journal entry, yep, I agree to it, wherein, these are such refreshing takes that you're talking about because, a lot of time there are these complex systems and complex exercises that are suggested, but, thank you for sharing it so lightly and something which is relatable to a lot of people because see, personally, even for me, if I write down something wherein it does not even have to make sense, but I'm just
Mm.
writing whatever, and as you mentioned, looking up at the sky, the clouds, and everything, that actually gives you the sense of security for your own self. And I get your point. I really, really get it, and I hope the listeners get it too.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I think simplicity is the greatest thing that we can do for ourselves. Everything else feels so complicated. Our spiritual practice should never be complicated.
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. Also, despite so many conversations about mental health now, we still see people feeling guilty about prioritizing themselves. This one fine day, one of my friends, she was actually uh, facing problems with her own life, and she conveyed it to me. But me, I'm not a therapist, so all I said to her was that yes, you should actually visit a counselor or a therapist. You think that self care, it still feels like a luxury rather than a necessity. What is your take on this?
I would say that it's like practice. It's like being in the gym. Like sometimes it's putting yourself first, putting your mental health first. Like it's not something that comes natural to us because we're definitely socialized to not do that. We're definitely socialized to take on kind of the weight of the world and think that's okay. But nothing you do can thrive if you're not okay. Like it's that ancient saying, like it's impossible to pour from an empty cup. So if you're not okay within yourself and you feel depleted or overwhelmed, you're never going to be able to show up for a friend or family member the way that you could in your greatest capacity. So it is, I don't know, I still kind of, I wouldn't say I struggle with this still, but it's something that I still have to be very intentional about. It's like I said, it's like going to the gym. Like you have to put in those reps of just saying no, setting a boundary. And then the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And so I'm definitely a lot better at it now than I have been when I was younger. I also think getting older, just you stop caring as much about what people think of you because you realize that the people who are crossing your boundaries, the people who are putting so much weight and pressure on you would never give you the same type of consideration that you're giving them. So I just don't find it necessary to deplete yourself for the sake of being liked or the sake of, not wanting to feel like you're a bad person, so to speak, which is something my former people pleasing self would have done. So it takes time. It's a practice, but it's possible.
It definitely does, and it will take time, and I hope it takes time for the good of it and for the better of it. What is that one last thing that you would love to give away to people today? One last advice or one last anecdote or anything that you would love to share with them so that they understand the practice better, and yeah, whatever comes to your mind.
Yeah. So I love this question so much towards the end of interviews, but it's also like there's so much you could say. And so it just depends on, where the audience members are on their particular journey. But anything that I can leave would be the greatest practice you can have is a practice of coming back to yourself, whether that is journaling or walking meditation, or even singing helps you come back to yourself surprisingly. But there's a power within you that can only be tapped in to by presence, and that is being present with who you are, not who the world expects you to be, but the very person that you were created to be. And that is a journey of self-discovery. That is a journey that is unique to you. So I would say that.
Thank you for that, Dr. Crystal. And yes, I hope the listeners, you please resonate with that. And what an extraordinary conversation this was. You know, we've talked about hardships, and from facing hardships to courage to, redefining the abundance and embracing wholeness. Your story is a reminder that healing, it isn't a finish line, it's a daily practice that begins from
Mhm.
within. And thank you for that.
Thank you. It was truly a pleasure meeting with you, speaking with you, and hopefully sharing something from my journey with your audience that can help and that can serve them wherever they are on their journey.
Thank you for that, Dr. Crystal. And also for our listeners, if today's episode it sparked something in you, please don't let it fade. Journal about it, talk to someone about it, take one small step towards your own well-being today. Because the world, it needs the healthiest, most authentic version of you. And until next time, this is Pragya Malviya signing off. Keep decoding the divine within you and remember that your story is still unfolding.